Big Powder, sir. Are you ready to do your thing, sir?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Go ahead and do your thing, buddy. Go ahead and do your thing, sir.
So, absolutely not do the Aryan Brotherhood, federal Aryan Brotherhood, have any type of authority over the state Aryan Brotherhood. And the reason why that is because the federal prison system for the Aryan Brotherhood, they run their program completely different. It's a completely different thing as opposed to the ones here in the state. Like, for example, these things are set in place for reasons, though. The Aryan Brotherhood are mob, okay? They are mobsters. So everything that they do has a reason for it. It has a purpose for it. Now, when it comes to this type of stuff, you know how, just like law enforcement, one cop will never undermine another cop. So they have this structure of how they do things, and it's already set in stone when it comes to federal brothers knowing their position and their place, just like state brothers do. So if a state brother was to go into the federal prison system, he already knows, he's very aware that he has no power or authority when he goes to a federal prison system, just based on the fact that they already have their structure. They already have their hierarchies of what's going on inside their gang, inside their operation of whatever they're doing. So you're not just going to come from the California state prison system and just go over to the feds and think that you're going to start running stuff. So off the top, any brother who decides to do that, off the top knows that he's already creating waves and he's out of line and he's out of position and he's out of his duties of what he's supposed to be doing, okay? They're very aware of it. This isn't something to where, like, if you're a bona fide Aryan Brotherhood member, let's say you get made in California in the States, they're very aware. They're not in the dark about it. So if they intend to do that, just like, for example, my boy Chuck Sherwin, okay? And I don't know if a lot of people know about him, but Chuck Sherwin used to be P9. He was a PDS member, and he went out to the federal prison system because in the States, for the longest time, whoever was a validated Aryan Brotherhood member or associate was slammed in the shoe 24/7. They have no interaction with the mainliners. So out there in the federal prison system, it's different. They're not slammed down. They're able to interact with them and mingle with them on a daily basis. Therefore, it's a lot easier for them to get made out there in the federal prison system. Out here in the States, it was so much harder to get made as an Aryan Brotherhood because they're so tucked away. You actually have to put in work and make it to where these dudes are in order to even meet one of them. So off the top, that's going to be a lot harder to be made as a state Aryan Brotherhood member. Now, when you get to the feds, okay, it's a little bit more loose over there. And anybody who knows the history of, like, federal prison systems and state prison systems, federal is bigger. Like, the charges are bigger. In the States, it's like murder, attempted murders, carjackings, robberies, and things of that nature. Out there in the federal prison system, it's from embezzlement to, RICO acts, fraudulent behavior, whatever the type of cases are. They're just bigger and they're more significant, in my opinion. So Chuck Sherwin, he went out there to the States, or out there into the federal prison system, and he ended up getting made. Now, when he got made, he knew what his position was. He knew what his duties were. Any brother who just gets made knows that they don't have the authority to do anything yet. They get put on a 2-year probation period to learn the Aryan Brotherhood ways, period. So when you first get inducted as a member of the Aryan Brotherhood, you know off the top you're not supposed to just be jumping in any type of political ring with anybody. So Chuck, he gets made and he comes back out to the state California system, and he lands right there into Hatch-P-Shoe. And when he landed into Hatch-P-Shoe, him getting made, a lot of times when dudes get made, it goes to their head. It's an egotistical thing because, dude, I made it. Bro, I'm at the top. Now I got all this power. I'm an Aryan Brotherhood member, and they think that they can do and get away with anything. That's just sometimes the way it goes. That's It happens more common and more frequently than you would think. It even happened with cordless, too. As soon as they get made, they start abusing their power. Two scoops as well. Two scoops did the same exact thing. And I can understand that because, you know, you spend your whole life doing all these crazy things, and then once you get made a...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I am that guy now. So I'm going to start doing what I want, and my brothers are my brothers, and they're going to have my back regardless, and they don't think things through, okay? So out there in, like, Colorado, Texas, you know, federal prison systems, and state out there, okay, they run their factions entirely different. Everybody's set in place, like, okay, there's a structure. It's not because, you know, they don't recognize their brother as a brother. It's just that they held positions over there. So they have their commission, they have their 3-man commission, and they have their 6-man council. And that's how they operate here in the state. And the 1, 2, and 3. So they would have Ronnie Yondell number 1, Danny Trostle number 2, and then DC number 3. Those top dogs, that's the commission. That is called the commission. So obviously the commission in California is not going to go undermine the commission in Texas. Why would they do that? It's still their brothers. It's just that these are the guys that are set in place and put in these positions for specific reasons to do specific things for their enterprise or for their organization or however you want to call it. And so when you get these guys that get brand new membership, sometimes they do exactly what Chuck did. And Chuck came over here and started saying how he was a federal brother, how he's running things, and he started trying to take charge of people's prisons and people's yards and things like that. And let me tell you the repercussions of what happens. That's their life, dude. That's their life. So when they decide they want to, you know, I'm a federal brother and I'm going to come over here to the California prison system and I'm going to start running things, well, you can bet your bottom dollar your time is ticking, bro. And they're going to send their dudes, and how they're going to send their dudes, they're going to offer them incentives. So usually how it works is, especially within Chuck's case, is there are some regular dudes that have been around that are potential new Aryan Brotherhood members, okay? So they go searching for who's on the yard. So now Chuck needs to be hit and murdered and taken out because of him bucking the system, bucking his position, and it's disrespectful to the Aryan Brotherhood. So what does the Aryan Brotherhood do? They kill him. That's the repercussions, period. So and they know that when they get sworn in and they take their oath. They know that. You never undermine another brother. You never get out of position. You never get out of line. So they look around these yards to where Chuck Sherwin's at so they can see who is going to get Chuck, because usually 9 times out of 10, a brother can only take out a brother unless there's special circumstances. If there's a brother who's in trouble and they need to get this brother and there's no brothers there on that yard, well, they're going to find and search around who they're going to request to get this dude. And they're really, really particular about it and selective about it because they don't want to just...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It's going to be for a certain purpose, such as this. Okay, we're going to try to find a person who is has the most potential, who is trustworthy, that can receive this information to take him out, and a person who is capable of getting the job done, because they don't want to just go tell anybody to take out a certain brother, because if that person's not trustworthy and they receive this information to assault somebody and he doesn't have it in him and they go lock it up with this information, that's all bad. So that's why they're selective about who they ask to take these dudes out. And so if there is no brother, they're going to find somebody who is, fit for that position. And Chuck Sherwin got stabbed for that. The repercussions for getting out of line and getting out of order is death by the Aryan Brotherhood, okay? So a lot of people are like, they have these questions on whether or not the federal brothers have authority in the states, state brothers have authority in the federal prison system. No, they don't. But it's not because they don't see him as an equal brother. It's just because they have duties and they have positions, and if they get out of line, then it's going to mess up their entire structure. Okay? Now check this out. Like this dude Bart Simpson, when he came, this is an example. This is a prime example of how this happens. Okay? But the specific reasons, like I said, is why that is. It's because they already have it set. Everything's ran a certain way for a certain purpose to benefit the Aryan Brotherhood. Everything that they do is to benefit them, okay? So if they have dudes like Danny Trossel, for example, Danny Trossel has been number 2 in the commission for so long, bro. He could have had the number 1 spot, but he has this number 2 position for a certain reason because he's good at it. He could have had, if he would have took the number 1, then maybe he wouldn't be so beneficial as he is as being a number 2. A 1 man has his own position, has his own duties. A 2 has his own man, is his own position, has his own duties. A number 3, that's why it's in that order. Then they have that 6-man council. So when you're looking at a gang and their structure and the direction that they're going, these are the men. This is called the hierarchy. It's called the hierarchy of the gang. And the hierarchy of the gang is what drives them forward. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar that all of these Aryan Brotherhood members from Colorado to Maryland to Florence, Colorado, when Baron Mills was still alive, they all communicate. They all are on the same page. You can bet your bottom dollar on that, okay? Now, not every commission, not every council member is going to agree with the things that are going on. They're going to have their own say-so. So what they do is they set up these things that are called conferences, okay? Now, they have these conferences set up to take place so that they can deal with these type of matters. These type of matters are so significant to the extent of from murders to drug trafficking to whatever the case may be. These men are been doing this for so long and have been in these positions for so long. It's very serious on how they run their structure, okay? So that's why it's so important when these dudes get made that they stay in their place. So when you get guys like...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'm calling you back, bro. Calling you back.
Let's go.
That's why it's very important for guys to stay in their own lane. But when you get this type of... If anybody's ever heard that when you know, with great responsibility, with great power comes with great responsibility or something like that. With great power comes great responsibility. That's the term of it, okay? So when these guys, when they get made, okay, it's not unnatural or unusual for them to start getting out of place or getting out of position once they get bona fide membership. Like, that's just something that happens. That's going to happen. But for, like, the questions that are, you know, from people that are federal brothers, do they have more power than state brothers? Do state brothers have more power? No, they don't have more power. Neither one of them. An Aryan Brotherhood member, they're not all equal, but the ones that are in commission in the states and the ones that are in commission in the feds, they have equal power. It doesn't matter whether it's different state or not. If you're commission, you're commission. If you're council, you're council. But you're commission of that faction. You're not commission of everything entirely. You're only commission of the states, of what you're dealing with, okay? So
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Ronnie Yondale being number 1 of the state commission, Danny Trossel being number 2 of the state commission, and David Chance being number 3 of the state commission is going to have equal power to the federal state commission, like Rick Rainey and whoever they have set up. I don't know the federal commission right here in California, but they have equal power. The councils have equal power. It's just that if you come from another state, doesn't matter what state it is, it's just like if we go to another state, you're not allowed to intervene and start bucking the hierarchy of what is already taken in place, or there's going to be severe repercussions. And they're not in the dark about this. Like I said, some people are like, well, are they aware? Are they not aware? For sure they're aware. For sure these dudes are aware, like the Chuck Sherwins and the Bart Simpsons that decide to, create waves for their gang. Well, they pay the ultimate price as well, bro. This isn't one of those things where these guys are just, I didn't know any better, and then that creates a lot of speculation and a lot of criticism and controversy over the Aryan Brotherhood on whether or not they have their structure and order. I can promise you this, the Aryan Brotherhood, they know what they're doing at all times, okay? They are in communication at all times. They are not one of these enterprises that, the ones in Rhode Island think that they're better than the ones in California. The ones in California think that it's not like that, bro. They all push together. Now, anybody can have their own opinion or whatever perspective they think is going on, but the reality is this. This is the most notorious white supremacist organization. They are mob, bro. They are mob. They have, hands down, the most power from coast to coast, from north to south. They run it all. They are the top dogs. If they want to find you, they'll find you. And when they make these decisions, like let's say, for example, I'm out here in California and a hit needs to go down. If the hit needs to go down and they're running it through their hierarchy out here in California. Now, the bottom line, the person who used to run it all, they're both dead, okay? The founder and the co-founder of the Aryan Brotherhood are now both deceased. The number one dude was Baron Mills. Baron Mills. He passed away in Florence, Colorado in the ADX. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar there's a new man in charge that is the number one of all of it, federal and state, okay? Baron Mills was the law. He was the one that would put people in place in the federal prison system and in the California prison system. The co-founder, Blinky, Old Man Griff, he is deceased too. He used to be in the States. He was doing life in the state penitentiary. Baron Mills was doing life in the federal penitentiary, the founder and the co-founder, and they used to work together. Unfortunately, they're both deceased, but, hey, now they're going to have new dudes in place. So this is how it goes. They have another one dude for the states, and they have another one dude for the federal prison system, and those dudes work together to keep their hierarchy, to keep their teams in place, to keep their little factions in place. That way nothing gets out of line. Sometimes, and this is with every gang, okay, there's always going to be some sort of dissension. There's always going to be a man who bucks the system. There's always going to be a person who gets out of line or gets out of order. But trust me when I tell you this, they deal with it accordingly. You're not going to get made as an Aryan Brotherhood member and think you're just going to start getting out of line and taking over, taking control, start abusing your power. No one is exempt. They will take care of it. And it's usually a brother takes out of a brother unless in special circumstances. They will get you regardless. And what's crazy, this is something that I find fascinating right here. This is something I find fascinating. Sometimes, because there is an inner circle of each faction of the Aryan Brotherhood. That inner circle right there knows everything. Outside of that inner circle, they're pretty much on a need to know basis. And that's pretty crazy too, because once you become a member, you're a member, dude. And if I became a member, I want to know what's going on in my gang. But it's not like that. So I hope that I put a lot of this information in perspective for everybody so they can, and if there's any questions, like specific questions that people want to know based on the information that I just put out there, I think that I answered a lot of it and put a lot of it into perspective. But if anybody does have any questions, I can go into more in-depth detail about it. But this is pretty much the generalization for how this works and how the power is and how it's balanced out and how it's properly coordinated that way that they can stay afloat. And the way they do it is really, really strategic, calculated, methodical, and that's why they are who they are. And that's why a lot of people are always guessing on what about this or what about that. Are their intentions trying to get to the federal prison system? You know, everybody always has these questions on what they're doing, and the one thing I can tell you is this: they know what they're doing. Hey, Tony?
Bam.